Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving deep into a detailed historical analysis of Surah Al-Tawbah, unpacking Maulana Maududi's really profound commentary on it. We're going to explore the massive geopolitical shifts and the final foundational rulings of the early Islamic state that are laid out in this text. We're looking at a truly pivotal moment in history here, a time when a brand new, nascent community was staring down an existential threat and, through that absolute crucible, managed to forge its lasting constitution.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll be hitting 6 key areas. First, an introduction to the surah itself. Second, the historical background and the looming Roman threat. Third, the severe test of Tabuk. Fourth, the contrasting roles of the believers and the hypocrites. Fifth, the end of treaties with the polytheists. And finally, the foundational rulings for the new Islamic state.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1, an introduction to Surah At-Tawbah and its incredibly unique opening.
You know, anyone who opens the Quran is going to notice a pretty famous mystery right away. This is literally the only chapter in the entire book that lacks the standard opening invocation, the Bismillah, that declaration of grace and mercy. So you have to wonder, why would a text carrying such profound administrative and political weight omit the very phrase that starts almost every other chapter?
Well, the author clarifies this beautifully. It's essentially defined as a declaration of immunity, or bara'ah. Many early commentators view this chapter as a direct, seamless extension of the previous one, Surah Al-Anfal, because it serves as a definitive cancellation of old, treacherous treaties and acts as a final, stern warning. The customary declaration of mercy was intentionally left out. Make no mistake, this is a text of finality and absolute political boundaries.
Moving on to Section 2, the historical background in the Roman threat. This is where the storm really starts gathering. To understand these stern commands, we have to look at the timeline, because this text didn't just drop all at once. It actually arrived in 3 distinct chronological phases. The first discourse was revealed just before the massive Tabuk expedition, around Zilqa'dah in the 9th year of Hijrah. The second phase arrived right in the middle of intense preparations, actively urging the believers to mobilize. And the third, the final piece of the puzzle, was revealed after the army returned. So what we're seeing here is a state in motion, reacting in real time to immense geopolitical pressures.
By this 9th year, Central Arabia was largely consolidated under Islamic authority. But if you look toward the north, right up there on the Syrian border, things were getting incredibly tense. A massive superpower, the Roman Empire, was looming menacingly. Reports were absolutely flooding into Medina that the Roman Caesar had amassed a tremendous army. We aren't talking about a local skirmish anymore. This was a potential head-on collision with the world's leading superpower.
That brings us to Section 3, the severe test of Tabuk, and facing down that superpower.
Intelligence regarding those Roman troop movements forced the new Islamic State to make a phenomenally bold decision: launch a massive preemptive march north to the border town of Tabuk. And Prophet Muhammad mobilized a force of 30,000 troops for this expedition. 30,000! Seriously, let that number sink in for a second. Previous battles had involved maybe a few hundred or a couple thousand men. Mustering 30,000 soldiers from across a harsh desert landscape was a monumental feat of logistics, faith, and sheer political will.
But, as the commentary points out, this was not just a simple military march. It was a complete, multi-front crisis. We're talking about oppressive, blistering summer heat, famine conditions with a severe lack of resources, and, on top of the physical toll, the utterly terrifying prospect of fighting highly trained, fully armored Roman legions. This expedition was the ultimate stress test for the society. It was literally going to push every single individual to their absolute breaking point.
Which leads perfectly into Section 4, the role of believers and hypocrites. This is where people really showed their true colors. When you apply that much pressure to a group of people, it forces a very stark divide. On one side, you had the true believers, who made tremendous financial and personal sacrifices. Abu Bakr famously brought his entire household wealth to fund the army, while Usman and Abdurrahman bin Auf donated massive fortunes. Even the poorest companions offered up their daily wages. But on the flip side, you had the hypocrites, the munafiqeen. They offered up nothing but endless hollow excuses. They complained about the blazing summer heat, the long distance, and their fear of the Romans just to avoid mobilizing. This whole event basically acted as a definitive filter for the society, permanently separating true, unwavering dedication from disguised treason.
Okay, Section 5, ending treaties with the polytheists. It was time for a clean slate.
Once that internal filtering was done and the army successfully returned from Tabuk,
Having actually deterred the Roman threat without even fighting a battle, sweeping administrative changes were put into play. The commentary outlines a highly structured approach here. First, Ali was sent to the massive gathering of Hajj to publicly declare this new immunity. Second, they instituted a strict but incredibly fair 4-month grace period. It wasn't just overnight chaos. Polytheists literally had 4 months to either accept the new political reality or travel safely out of the territory. And third, it formally dissolved all treaties with factions that had repeatedly proven to be treacherous. The era of broken pacts was officially over.
These weren't just words on paper. They resulted in massive, definitive physical changes. This period marked the total eradication of polytheistic rituals from the Kaaba. It was a complete paradigm shift. The administration, the upkeep, the custody of the sacred mosque, all of it was placed strictly and exclusively in the hands of the believers. Plus, non-believers were henceforth prohibited from entering its precincts. The central spiritual and political hub of Arabia was now totally aligned with the Islamic State.
And finally, Section 6, Rulings for the New Islamic State and its Permanent Policies.
Beyond the borders of Mecca, these final verses established lasting foreign and domestic policies with incredible foresight. They established clear political boundaries and very specific mechanisms for incorporating neighboring populations. Crucially, the text explains the institution of the jizya tax for the people of the book. Now, what is absolutely crucial to grasp here is that this was not just a financial penalty, it was a constitutional framework. In exchange for paying the jizya, these non-Muslim citizens were officially brought under the political authority of the state, and in return, their lives, their properties, and their religious freedoms were explicitly guaranteed and protected by that state. It was a formal integration into a brand new political order.
So what does this all mean? Well, I want to leave you with this final thought. When a newly formed state faces a truly existential threat, does the resulting pressure fracture the society, or does it forge its final, lasting constitution? As Maulana Maududi's commentary so powerfully illustrates, the extreme multi-front pressure of the Tabuk expedition didn't destroy this early community. Instead, it was the exact fire they needed to burn away the hypocrisy, clarify loyalties, and forge the definitive, lasting legal framework of a state that would soon change the world. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope this deep dive has sparked your curiosity to go learn even more.